What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of DVD Builds. In today's episode, I've got a special one for you. Today we're going to be discussing my top 3 sneakiest of builds, Adawong edition. Now, there's 2 types of videos that do the best on my channel. The first one is obviously the top survivor builds. That's what you guys have been wanting more of, so I am here to deliver. And secondly, I've seen a lot of comments about adawong, and adawong specifically in sneaky, stealthy-oriented builds. I'll confess, I haven't actually played the Resident Evil games, so I had to do a Google search to figure out who adawong was and what she's all about. And what I found out, honestly, I'm so confused. She's like an enigma. She's like this double-agent. Nobody knows who she works for. She's stealthy. She has intel. She has surveillance. She's clutch. She's crazy. In essence, that's Adawong. So she was a little bit of the inspiration behind me wanting to do these builds. So that being said, all of these builds are based around being stealthy, being sneaky, avoiding the killer, but also having a lot of intel as to what's going on in the games, so that way you know what you need to be doing as a survivor. Now that being said, these are some strong builds. Use them with discretion. Now, I'm just going to say this. There's 2 types of stealthy players. There's the stealthy players that just hide from the killer all game, end up being the last one alive. Maybe they make it out of the hatch. Maybe they don't make it out, but they're not really good teammates. They just hide all the time. And that's not what I want you doing. These builds are designed to be evasive and stay away from the killer, but use that with power. As in, make sure you're still working on the objectives. Make sure you're still doing gens. Make sure you still come out of your hole to help a teammate when you can. And that being said, the second disclaimer I will say, if you are the only one who hasn't been hooked and the rest of your teammates are all dead on hook, then even though you're playing stealthy and avoiding the killer, sometimes it's best to just take the chase, just so your teammates can stay alive. But that's it, guys. Without further ado, let's hop into today's episode, Top 3 Sneaky Builds. Alright guys, number 1 on the list I'm calling the Urban Evader. We're featuring 4 perks here. Now actually, before I even get started on this, shout outs to Michelle Q, one of the viewers. She was part of the inspiration for this build because I've been trying out a lot of different builds because I want to get 3 really good, just sneaky, stealthy, intel-based builds. And while I was using a lot of the killer aura reading perks, I didn't think to stack multiple of them in the same build. So she actually gave me that idea, and then I tried it out because at first I thought it would be redundant and kind of pointless. Like, why use multiple killer aura reading perks? It seemed like it wouldn't be good, but in practice, it's actually very good, and this build is low-key ridiculous and a load of fun. So let's get into it. We're running 4 perks. The first perk, Alert. Whenever the killer performs a break action, you get to see the killer's aura for 5 seconds. So if the killer breaks a breakable door, if the killer kicks a generator, if the killer breaks a drop pallet, you see where the killer's at, no matter where you're at on the map, for 5 whole seconds. This perk is bonkers. Like, you get so much intel out of this perk, and I don't know why more people do not use this perk. It is so good for always seeing where the killer's at. You know if the killer kicked a gen, you know where the killer's at in chase, you know if the killer's breaking a pallet. This lets you always make sure you're in the right position on the map. Like, whenever alert goes off, you see where the killer's at, and then you just avoid him. And it gives you so much free intel. You literally don't have to do anything, and this perk gets you value. But not only are we using alert, we're also running the new version of Dark Sense. They changed it this last patch, so it's not the same as it used to be. Now, every time a generator is completed, Dark Sense will activate when the killer is within a 24-meter radius of us. And then, once it activates, we get to see the killer's aura for 10 whole seconds, which is a long time. So pretty much what this perk guarantees is whenever the killer starts getting close to you, you have 10 seconds to evade that killer, to dodge that killer, to see where that killer is coming from, and make sure you're hiding behind the closest rock or generator or wall, so that way you completely avoid the killer. And this perk you get to use it 5 times a game because it activates each time you do a generator. So potentially up to 5 different times. It's actually really good. The only thing I wish they would do for this perk is like maybe add a little audio notification so you know it goes off, because there are some times it will go off, especially when you're getting used to the perk, that you won't even actually realize you used the perk. Like it'll go off, you'll just get barely within 24 meters of the killer, it'll go off, but you're not actually looking to see for the killer's aura. Like I've had a couple times where I've kind of wasted this perk, especially when I was just starting out using it. But now that I'm used to using it, I'm pretty aware and I always get value out of this perk. Dark Sense, awesome. So we have Alert, we have Dark Sense, and just to make things better, we're using Hattie's perk, Inner Focus. Hear me out on this, guys. So what this perk does, you can see other survivors' scratch marks. And whenever another survivor loses a health state within 32 meters of your location, you get to see the killer's aura for, what is it? Another 5 seconds. So between Alert, Dark Sense, and Inner Focus, you literally are just always seeing the killer. It's actually really funny. Like, there's games where I literally just always see the killer. I always know what the killer's up to. I'm literally never surprised because I just always see what's going on. And the second part of this perk, actually being able to see survivor scratch marks, that sounds like it would be useless. Like, what's the point of seeing other people's scratch marks? But it's actually almost like you can use it to find your teammates if you need a heal. You can use it to see where chases are happening. Sometimes you can see these scratch marks from like all the way across the map, which is like when you use this perk, you realize how apparent scratch marks are. Like if you play killer, you probably can see scratch marks from like across the map. You're like, oh, there's a survivor there. Survivors don't really realize that, but when you use this perk, it's like, whoa, you become so much more aware of how impactful your scratch marks really are. But then you can also use it to just find your teammates, get a heal your teammates. It's actually really useful for that as well. So we have 3 killer aura reading perks. The last perk, you know it, Urban Invasion. This build is the Urban Invader. No, we're not crouch walking across the entire map all game. This build is essentially, or this perk is essentially to evade the killer when they come close enough to you, so that way you can slip away. So this works really well with Dark Sense. Granted, we always really know what the killer's at. Alert, Inner Focus, we have a lot of good intel. Dark Sense activates when the killer's within 24 meters of us. So usually when Dark Sense activates, you see the killer, you crouch, and you urban evade yourself on out of there. It's crazy how good and fluid this works. Trust me, guys, use this build, and you're gonna be a tricky survivor to catch. Like, I'm not even lying, guys. Like, it's so good how good this build works. Like, I love it. I love it. Build 1, the Urban Invader. Loads of fun, but that's only one of 3 awesome builds I have for you. Let's get into build number 2. All right, guys, build number 2. I am actually a little bit at a loss for words on what I was going to call this build, but for the sake of this video, I'm calling it the Slippery Ninja. That's right, Slippery Little Ninja. We're using Object of Obsession. Quick and Quiet, Dance With Me, Life. Let me explain what this does. Object of the Obsession. Whenever your aura is revealed to the killer's aura also becomes visible to you. And then you get a 6% bonus to healing, repairing, and cleansing. Okay, that's cool. So essentially, whenever the killer reveals your aura, you can actually see the killer's aura. Now, if you're the Obsession, every 30 seconds, your aura will automatically be revealed to the killer, which in turn will make it to where you can see the killer's aura for 3 seconds every 30 seconds. This perk also increases our chances of becoming the Obsession. So at first glance, and honestly, I thought this perk was absolute trash for literally the longest time. Like, what's the benefit of a perk that literally shows your aura to the killer? But in practice, guys, this perk is actually kind of good and kind of busted. Hear me out. 1, if we do happen to be the Obsession that game, every 30 seconds we get free intel as to where the killer's at for 3 whole seconds. Number 2, that would normally be a bad thing because the killer can see where you're at. But with our other perks I'm going to explain later, we're actually going to be playing around that little downside of this. But what ends up happening more often than not is like I will see the killer's aura like so many times throughout a game, and honestly, it's very rare that the killer's camera is actually looking in my exact direction, or they're not doing something else like chasing another survivor, to where they don't even realize I have this perk. Like, I'm getting free value. I'm seeing the killer's aura every 30 seconds, and they're completely oblivious to it because they just don't know to look out for it. It's like nobody plays like looking around the map every 30 seconds. Like, does any of these survivors have object of the obsession? Like, no killer plays like that. And even if they did know you had it, let's say they were lucky and their camera was turned onto the right side of the map and they saw your aura get revealed, literally, like, unless they're just an absolute genius, for them to have a timer inside their brain that notifies them, like, all right, every 30 seconds I got to be looking around this map to make sure I don't see a survivor. Like, it's not really that practical for the killer. So this perk actually is just a ton of benefit for you. But let's say worst case scenario, your aura gets revealed to the killer. You see the killer coming for you. The killer sees exactly where you're at, and they're coming for you. That's where the rest of this build comes into play. Quick and quiet. We do not make a loud noise whenever we fast vault a fast vault location, a pallet, a locker, anything that would make a loud noise. It's completely silent, and we can do this once every 20 seconds. Dance with me. After we leave a locker in a sprint, perform a fast vault, same thing as quick and quiet, jump in a pallet, jump in a window. We won't leave any scratch marks for 3 seconds. This one has a cooldown of 40 seconds. The last perk, Lithe. Once we perform, you heard it, the rushed vault, jumping over a pallet, jumping over a window, we break into a sprint at 150% extra speed for 3 whole seconds, and then we're exhausted, and then that's another 40 seconds for that. So literally 40 seconds, we'll always have Lithe and Dance with Me together, and then Quick and Quiet will actually be able to use that twice in 40 seconds. So here's the thing. These 3 perks are super strong for evading the killer. Like, if you're in chase and you manage to break the line of sight on the killer and you have enough distance, you can take a quick vault, not leave scratch marks, and get some crazy amount of distance before the killer even realized where you went. Hence, the slippery ninja. Now, take this a step further. Object of the obsession. If, worst case scenario, the killer sees your aura, and you see the killer's aura, and you see that the killer is actually coming for your location, wherever you may be, once that 3 seconds times out, and your auras both disappear from each other, that's your cue to just get out of there. Run for the nearest vault. You get value out of your life. You're Dance with Me. You're not leaving any scratch marks. And you have enough time to create enough distance between where the killer's going to go look for you and where you actually go. And since you're not leaving scratch marks, they're not going to even have any idea that you left that area. It's actually really fun to mess with the killers. And, like, killers just will not expect this build. Slippery ninja, my friends. Try it. It's absolutely awesome. One more build left to go. But before we get into that build, if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Support DBD Builds. We're up and coming. We're going to grow and be one of the great channels one day. But we can't do that unless I have you guys' support. So if you're enjoying this video, if you're finding value in it, just hit the sub button, guys. It's an easy little click. Also, 90% of you guys are not subscribed, so I don't know what you guys are doing. But anyways, let's get into build number 3. All right, guys, build number 3, I'm calling the Spec Ops Build, a.k.a. the Special Ops Build, a.k.a. I think the build that maybe fits the most with Adawong's character. I don't know, leave a comment down below and let me know. But this build is probably one of my favorites, and let me explain why. So for starters, we're using Iron Will. Whenever we're injured, our grunts of pain are reduced by 75%, so this makes us very quiet. And then I don't know what it is, but on Adawong especially, it makes her almost completely silent. I don't know if that's a glitch, or if that's actually just intended, or if Iron Will got changed a little bit, but on Adawong specifically, it makes her very quiet. Like, it's good for all survivors, but Adawong, like, she makes, like, absolutely no noises with this perk. Boon, Shadow Step. Find a totem, very simple. We bless it. Within a 24-meter range, we are shrouded in the Shadow Step, which means, 1, no survivors, you and your teammates will not leave any scratch marks. and your auras are completely hidden from the killer, and this effect lingers for 4 seconds after you leave the boon totem's range, or if the boon gets snuffed, you still have 4 seconds to get away and be extra sneaky. So, we got a perk that makes us extra quiet if we're injured. We've got a perk that makes us pretty much unrevealable to the killer and not leave any scratch marks within that 24-meter radius. The third perk we're combining with is Detective's Hunch, and this is almost the backbone of the build. Let me explain. So with Detective's Hunch, whenever a generator is completed, you can see the aura of all generators on the map, all chests on the map, and all totems on the map within a 64-meter range. You can see them all for 10 entire seconds. Also, bonus, if you're using a map, you can track the generators, chests, and totems you revealed with it by using that map at any time possible. So if you have a rainbow map and want to use it with this build, by all means, you're more than welcome to. But the strategy behind this build is, ideally, you want to find a totem to bless it and do your shadow step, so you can work on a gen, knowing your aura is not revealed to the killer. If the killer comes within range of that generator, you just get out of there, run away. You're not leaving any scratch marks. It's super easy to duck and hide the killer, depending on where you put your boon. Sometimes you're working on a gen and the boon is between your gen and where the killer's coming from. They'll stuff the boon out first, and that almost gives you a clue like, oh, the killer's coming. So run away, and you still get that 4 seconds of not leaving any scratch marks, so you're super stealthy. But let's just say you don't find a totem early on, or you're new and you don't know where the totems are at. That's where Detective's Hunch comes in clutch. Like, you don't have to go straight to the totem. If you find the totem, great, but go straight to working on a generator. And then once you do that first generator, that's when this combo starts, because you see all the totems, you see all the generators. So that's when you make your plan, guys. You got to be a little strategic with this build. But once Detective's Hunch goes off, look on the map, look for all the totem spawns, and then go find a totem to boon it and make the shadow step, and then you know exactly where the gens are. So ideally, you want to look for a totem that's kind of close to the gen you want to work on, so you can bless that totem and then work on a gen. And honestly, there's for the most part, there's always a totem within any of the gens you want to work on. So this setup right here almost guarantees you the ability to just work on gens, and the killer will have no idea you're working on gens unless they have like Tinker or something like that. But then, even then, you still have a chance of getting away with your Shadow Step and Iron Will. This perk is so good, guys. And just like seeing the totems, there's so many things you can do with this. You can cleanse Hex totems. If you need to bless totems, which we're doing, we can do that. Finding out where the gens are so you can avoid a 3-gen situation. Like, Detective's Hunch, it was a long time before I used this perk, but I'm glad I started using it because it's so fun and it just fits like butter with this build, guys. Detective's Hunch, reveal the totems, reveal the gens, find one, boon it with that shadow step, and then be real sneaky. And the last perk I'm using with this, because it is a intel-based build to know what's going on, is we're rocking Kindred. Whenever you're hooked or a survivor is hooked, the killer's aura is revealed within a 16-meter range, and then you can see all other survivors' auras as well. And then if you're the one hooked, then all other survivors can see everybody else's auras. This is just really good because a lot of the times you're going to be shadow stepping a boon and working on generators and just pretty much operating from behind the scenes like a little special ops agent. That's what this build is. You're operating behind the scenes. You're not going in a chase. You're just trying to avoid the killer. But Kindred is great because if your teammates get hooked, this will tell you when you need to actually leave your shadow step or leave your generator so you can go save a teammate depending on where your teammates are at. So this just rounds out the build so nicely that you just always know what's going on. You see the killer's aura, you see the gens, you see the totems. Like, what more do you want? Like, and you're very sneaky. Like, this is just the best little mix of just like everything all around. But there is another perk that I've been rocking just for fun. So if you don't feel like using Kindred, if you're okay not having that intel about other survivors or the killer's aura within the hook, then I would recommend you try this perk out. Underrated perk, but a lot of fun with this build. Rookie Spirit. Complete 3 good skill checks, and then you can see whenever there's a regressing generator on the map, it'll light up as white. This just fits in with the intelligence part of this build. So when you see a gen that's regressing, you know you need to go to that area, shadow step the boon, work on that gen, or stop it from regressing first, and then boon, and then work on that gen. This lets you always be like one step ahead of the killer, especially with how many killers are using overcharge right now. It's actually quite a common perk. This perk is really good to counter that. So you can't go wrong with Rookie Spirit, and you can't go wrong with Kindred, guys. They are both excellent choices for this build. Give it a try for yourself, man. All three of these builds are so much fun. And trust me, if you're having trouble staying alive, like, just follow the steps I told you in this video, and you're going to have a lot of success staying alive. But don't forget, if everybody else is dead on hook, sometimes the best play is to just reveal yourself and take chase so your teammates don't die. Alright guys, that concludes my top 3 sneaky builds. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. Get this content out there in the world. Every time you hit that like button, every time you subscribe, this video gets shown to more and more people, and I just want to reach as many people as possible in the DBD community because this is fun. I enjoy this game. I love making these kinds of videos, and I'm going to keep doing so for the indefinite future. Also, stay posted, guys. I'm going to be playing each of these builds in a video in the coming weeks. I'll link it in the description. So if you're catching this video later on, the links will probably already be there. But if you're just watching it the day of, be patient, my friends. Within the weeks to come, I'll have videos featuring each of these builds in action. And I think that's it, guys. Until next time, have an amazing day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.